Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah. The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right. It is Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means it is another day, I should say. I don't know. That was horrible. Let's start that over. Sure. And welcome back to Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. I am your host, Chet, and to my right is my counterpart, Duffy. Duffy, how are we doing today on this Wednesday night?
Doing pretty good, man. Wednesday night, a little thunder out. Pretty fresh rainstorm, but hey, nothing like camping in, make some content with my boy Chet. So Chet, how are you doing today, my guy?
Doing good. I mean, I wasn't really expecting the thunderstorms today. It's kind of nice considering it was very hot out today. Last week, I was kind of a little shocked we didn't do an episode, but hey, 4th of July, we might as well take a week off, kind of relax a bit. I had vacation this past weekend, went to Maryland, went to Hershey Park. Some good times there, and met and saw some good friends, and just hung out. It was good time off, but it's the work week again, back on the grind. Sure, it's the middle of the week, but that means more of the time to really get all the stuff done right now before the week comes to a close. Speaking of work, the Suns putting in a lot of work last night to really shut down the Milwaukee Bucks, winning this game 1 of the series of the NBA Finals. 118-105. What a complete domination by this team. Wouldn't you say so, Duffy?
Yeah, Suns really, winning this game handily, 13-point victory. They got by a lot more at many points in the game. Bucks kind of made it a lot closer in the fourth quarter, but Suns really never looked down this game. They entered the third quarter up, almost 20 points. Really were up in front the entire matchup, and it looked like the Bucks didn't really keep up with them. And sure, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who did get injured in that Game 4 against the Atlanta Hawks in the East Conference Finals, still banged up with a hyperextended left knee. But they did not look 100% at all this game. Suns looked better in every every factor of the night. 3 guys with over 20-plus points. Chris Paul dropping 32, so you can see at the bottom there. Suns were the better team last night. They have looked like the better team in most cases throughout this whole entire playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, that was a pretty decisive Game 1 win.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the statistics here, you see Chris Paul, 32 points in that game, really carrying the team, along with Devin Booker with 27. I do believe the Suns did lose their starting forward, though, with a torn ACL. I forget the name. Duffy, if you can remind me of that right now.
Dude,
I'm trying to – because that's –
Dario Saric, yes, tore his ACL last night in the victory. I mean, he's a really good role player.
Yeah.
Really good coming off the bench. Does a lot of different things, right? He only played 2 minutes last night before going down with the injury, which is really unfortunate. But Suns, I think without him even, I mean, they have a really solid starting 5. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Ayton, and Bridges and Crowder at the forward positions. There's a pretty deep team. Sure, Sarge just think a huge hit their depth, but at the end of the day, this is probably the 4th straight playoff matchup where the Suns have had the fortune of playing a team that was injury riddled. Giannis is not 100% in this series, and the Suns took advantage last night, by a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll kind of see where this matchup ends up. I really would like to see the Bucks push back a little bit harder here in Game 2, which will once again be played in Phoenix. That is going to be tomorrow night.
Correct.
1 second. I just had a game screaming in my ear. This is why I fucking hate going on ESPN and having my tabs open, because then you just have all these ads pop up and go and it's like, dude, chill out, dude. I'm just trying to talk sports with my guy here.
With my guy Duffy, man.
Yeah, with my guy Duffy.
And then we got to look out too with Giannis too. Came back from the injury, only took 11 shots the entire game last night, which is way below his season average. If the Bucks really want to, win in these games, we have to get Giannis going, because he's, despite being at only probably about 65, 70% right now, maybe even lower than that. His injury did look pretty bad in Game 4 of the East Conference Finals. He's the type of guy who's going to be a pivotal factor when you're winning or losing games. And he had that huge chase down block last night. He had a great play on that ball. Still collected 17 rebounds in the game, 20 and 17 on the night, but. For Giannis, and as much pure as this is safe for an NBA player, that's kind of an off night for him. Only taking 11 shots, not looking very aggressive. He really couldn't be, couldn't really afford to with his bum knee. But Bucks want to win any of these games, they're going to have to get that from him. He's going to have to ice up these next couple of nights. Maybe starting him Game 1 was not the best decision in retrospect, because they did end up losing the game, and injury may worsen as a result. But I think that's what they had to do at the time, and if they want to get any wins in this series, then Giannis gonna have to start going, and not play so passive. We saw Chris Middleton last night too, even take 26 shots the entire game, which is more than twice as many as Giannis. So gonna have to get him, more attack off the ball.
Yep, it's definitely going to have to be a much more higher attack, but I think at the same time they might need. I mean, it'll be nice to see how the Bucks perform tomorrow night. I think if Giannis can at least stay in the game like he did last night, I think they'll be fine and hopefully make the game a little bit closer. But I think the next 2 days following are going to be critical, because after Thursday, these two teams will not play again until Sunday. Yeah. So that's going to give him some extra time to really rest up and get ready to go. But it also is going to give the Suns a little bit of an advantage if they go up 2-0 in this series. Granted, they are going back to Milwaukee, and the Bucks have proven that in Milwaukee, the entire momentum of their series has changed so many times since they've gone back home. So it's definitely going to come down. Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely going to come down to the home court advantage in this matchup between these two teams. I think these teams have a lot of punch and power to them. And for me, for Devin Booker, it's amazing to see how through the first 5 years of his career, he had seen only 30% of the team's games that were played, that they were wins. 30% of the whole season were wins. And now he's on the cusp of winning his first ever NBA title. Yeah. To me, that's unreal. I mean, I should say the cusp. And Chris Paul, too. Chris Paul has been playing unbelievable this playoff series. Even had what's-his-face from the Clippers push him in the back.
Oh, Pat Beverly.
Yeah, dude, that was bullshit. It's like, you got to respect Chris Paul. You really do.
For real.
Because even like some of those plays he made last night, unbelievable. I managed to catch at least a few minutes left of that game after I got off work. I was on work most of the shift, so I couldn't really get to see what was going on. But the Suns were dominating. They really were. They just looked so aggressive in every way, just form in that game.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, they didn't trail once the entire game, except for the first couple of minutes. But Chris Paul, early favorite to win that Finals MVP. Devin Booker even said last night he's the best leader to ever play this game. Bold take, very high claim by Devin Booker, but it's not far from the truth. 32 points, 9 assists last night. Really has changed the entire landscape of this Phoenix Suns team and put them in the position to be where they are today. They couldn't really get past those first 3 rounds without him, even with him being out for a couple games last series. The Suns really looking like they're going to be able to hoist this trophy. And if I'm picking an early pick right now, I want to see Milwaukee win this series. I'm not going to lie. I did pick them before the series, but after last night, I've seen Giannis not 110%. He's questioning, how healthy he's going to be the rest of the series. So the Suns are a healthy team. And, barring some injury that, down pits them into, a bad situation, I think the Suns take this series in, maybe 6 games.
Where do you predict the series to be at next week? Because by Wednesday, they will have played games 2, 3, and they will be playing the 4th game on that Wednesday.
Actually, give me the Suns. I think the Suns and the Bucks by next Wednesday. I think they'll be tied 2-2. I think that each team's going to win both games at home. And I think it might actually go 7. I think every home team might win. I know we just saw that, basically just saw that with the Bucks' second series against the Nets, except for that game 7. But, dude, honestly, with the way these two teams are playing, I think the Suns could be – I think it'll be 2-2 or the Suns will be up 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to have to agree with you there yet again because – and, I mean, obviously we have our moments where we don't agree all the time, but I think in this moment I think it's just going to happen where it's either going to be a 3-1 Suns or a 2-2 between both teams.
The Bucks aren't getting swept. They're too talented of a team.
I think
you can say that their big 3 is as good as the Suns' big 3, maybe even better.
Yeah,
at full strength. So if Giannis can just ice up a little bit over the weekend, after game 2, before games 3 and 4 at home, then I think the Bucks will easily tie us up 2-2. But the Suns, as we've seen, if that's not the case, the Bucks need a lot to go right for them this next week. So the Suns very well could take, a game in Milwaukee, come Sunday or Tuesday.
Absolutely. So that will be a wrap up here for this week on our NBA section. And to kind of wrap it up, really, I just want to once again alliterate how surprised I am at the way this matchup became. Because obviously we did not expect this. We expected either Brooklyn or LA or the Jazz or any of these other teams that were really out there.
The Sixers maybe,
Yeah, so I mean, kind of to see the Bucks and the Suns go head to head, and we said this the past couple of weeks, it's a nice fresh start to what we've seen with the super teams. We'll see what happens next season, but it's just a nice breath of fresh air for somebody like me who kind of despises the NBA in moments because the players end up taking over the league and making it all about them and making the teams all about them. This is one of those moments where I could sit down and watch this matchup and actually enjoy what I'm watching.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of, like when the Heat and the Mavericks played in the 2006 finals, because we were coming off the Kobe Shaq three-peat, the Spurs winning a lot of championships too, and that was kind of like a fresh start. Kind of gives me vibes of that. 2 young teams. Bucks, you could say, are young. This is probably their 4th year being really good, but their championship window is closing, a little bit if they don't make, moves in the future. Because Chris Miller's getting up there in age, so is Drew Holiday. He's approaching 30 also, but both these teams, really had to get through a lot to get to this point. Really need some luck too. Suns, some injuries in the West where it was Denver without no Jamal Murray, the Lakers with banged up LeBron and AD. And even last series against the who did the Suns just beat in the West Conference Finals? The Clippers, no Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
But they're a team that very talented, won 8-0 in the bubble last year, high expectations this year, and sure as hell exceeded them. With the Bucks, beating the Brooklyn Nets in 7 games against the super team, a little bit banged up too, and against the Atlanta Hawks, even though Giannis the last 2 games. These are 2 teams that have fought way more adversity than we could have imagined any 2 teams making the finals this year could. And that's really what's the most exciting thing for me is which one of these 2 teams is going to come back out on top. And the Suns have never won a championship. The Bucks haven't won a championship in 50 years. So really just a new, refreshing landscape for NBA history and the season in general.
And before we head to commercial break, this episode and the past few episodes have been sponsored by Prevacol. Prevacol, a drug that is meant to help concussions at the point of their impact and prevent brain damage and symptoms of CTE down the line. Definitely something to check out. Looking forward towards the future of drug technology such as this, especially in gameplay, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, you name it. This will be a game-changing drug that is going out on the open market. And now we will hit a commercial break. Here is a message from our sponsor. We'll see you right after the break.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, welcome back from the commercial break here. We're back on Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. Going over the Red Sox now. The Boston Red Sox managed to take over first place in the last 2 weeks since we last spoke. They lost 2 out of the 3 games to Tampa Bay in Tampa, but ever since then, they had won around 8 straight games. I will count them right now because I don't remember off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight. I was right there.
My bank account. Let's go, baby.
8 straight wins, swept the New York Yankees when they came to town, swept the Kansas City Royals in 4 games, took 2 out of the 3 against the Oakland A's. That was huge for this team. That's a very tough team out west. And then the LA Angels, they took only 1 out of the 3 there, managing to lose the last 2. Shohei Ohtani hit a home run today, his 32nd on the year. He currently leads the majors with 32 home runs and was a big part of the reason why the Angels beat the Boston Red Sox in these last 2 games. The Red Sox will conclude their first half of the season this Friday through Sunday as they return back to Fenway to face the Philadelphia Phillies before we hit the All-Star break. And as of right now, the Red Sox, they are sitting quite pretty in first place in the AL East at 54-33. They've lost 2 games so far. They are 7-3 now in their last 10. Tampa following close behind on a 4-game winning streak, 3 games out. Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees both 9 games out of first place. And, of course, the Baltimore Orioles sitting at 25 games back, giving no threat to the Red Sox. But the Red Sox are doing so great. They're doing beyond the expectations that most people had ever thought they would. And they are just looking like a fun ball club to actually sit and watch because it's a bunch of guys who aren't the best in the league. You've got some studs. You've got Xander Bogaerts. You got Rafael Devers. And you've got JD Martinez. But then you got people in this lineup that you really just didn't expect to go and do what they're doing. You've got Alex Verdugo playing solid, Hunter Renfroe really coming to this team this year and providing a lot. The last couple of weeks, he provided the team with 4 home runs to edge themselves over other teams. Kike Hernandez managing to really get his home run numbers up there. Renfroe at 13, Enrique Hernandez at 10. And then Christian Vasquez still playing well in that lineup, but Bobby Dahlback really stepping it up, getting himself 10 home runs at first base. So, I mean, really looking at what the ball club has, their bats are there. They're firing on all cylinders. And the pitching, despite starters, you have players like Garrett Whitlock and Adam Ottavino and Hirasaku Samurura who really come into these games and just provide the depth and the pitching that you need from a bullpen in order to get out of these games.
Dan, depth is a great word because, in these last episodes, we've been talking a lot like the Red Sox need to make a move to get a starting pitcher, to strengthen their pitching lineup. But at the end of the day, they have guys who can go in there, like you were saying, a lot of cast-offs, a lot of, not a lot of household names on the squad who can come in there and win games. That's the most important thing. How deep their pitching staff is a lot deeper than a lot of the teams in the league. Still one of the best hitting teams in the league right now. Still sitting, in the top tier of the league in terms of batting average and hits. But this team's becoming more complete. And because before the narrative was this offense is really carrying the squad, we're scoring 8 runs in games and still losing with some of those matchups. But now you have a nice pitching staff who is only seeming to get better this last month of the season. And this summer, looking at the schedule this summer in June and July, there are a lot of tough matchups. Like you were saying, a really tough, a couple tough series against the Yankees, against the Oakland A's, who are second in the ALS right now, where they did win 2 of the last 3 games against them. And they're winning these games that do matter because Red Sox, they're still only 3 games in front of the Rays in the AL East. So one bad series or 2 that can easily slip into wild card territory and winning these games against other wild card teams like the Athletics, like the New York Yankees is huge. And it kind of gives them that threshold that they need. And going to the All-Star break, they're sitting pretty, winning 8 of their last 10 games. And I think they're going to possibly win these next few. They did lose today. You didn't mention that. They did lose against the Los Angeles Angels 5-4, but series against the Phillies before the All-Star break, a team that is currently second in the NL East. It's going to be a pivotal series, but Red Sox, in my opinion, they take at least 2 of these games.
Yeah, I think they could easily take 2 or even sweep the Phillies here at home.
They're at home too. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of tough because I would honestly, at this moment, this is the perfect time to ride the Red Sox high. They're just, the bats are on fire. The pitching's right where it needs to be. And I mean, they just look like a great team to watch right now. I mean, they take tomorrow off as they come back home, but the consistency's there. We're seeing a winning formula start to begin as they reached 50 games before teams like the Tampa Bay Rays. New York Yankees have their struggles this season to the point where they might have to move key players such as Gary Sanchez or even Aaron Judge if they're really so bold. Definitely players like Giancarlo Stanton who have these megaton contracts.
Yeah.
This is the perfect time for the Boston Red Sox to continue to move in a positive direction. But now the question comes into play, should they just wait for Chris Sale to come back and expect him to do what he had done before he got Tommy John surgery and then trade for nobody else or make a move, get some depth, get some guy, maybe even a stud? It would be tough to get a stud because the Red Sox don't really have enough in their farm system to offer up something like that. Yeah. The Red Sox, they could be buyers, but they could also just really stay where they are because they're looking pretty where they are without many major guys on the squad. It's like looking at a San Francisco Giants team in a way that never really had a lot in terms of the batting lineup. Red Sox have a good batting lineup. Pitching staff was good. Red Sox don't have that really. They've got the bats. The pitching, though, still steps up when it needs to be. They're just finding what they can from these guys, and these guys are stepping up, and that's what I love about this team so far this season.
Yeah, it's a great question, Chet. Should they make a move? And in my opinion, I don't really think they should. For a stud pitcher, I mean, they're going to get Chris Sale back after the All-Star break. They're already sitting with the most wins in the MLB right now. I'm not saying they should be complacent or settle in any way, shape, or form, but I think what they have now and what they're going to get back when Chris Sale gets to that point where he's able to play again at a high level, I don't really think they should try to fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
And, like you were saying, they do have tremendous depth. Really a lot of guys who can do a lot of things for you and, win games. But at the end of the day, they don't really have a lot to give up. And I don't really think sacrificing some of the future of an already really solid core for, a pitcher or something will, be the right option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's going to come down to, if they're to add anybody by the trade deadline, it's just going to have to be depth guys, utility guys who can step up in these key moments, like Adam Ottavino and Garrett Whitlock, who are both in the Yankees pitching system, who we picked up in the compensation draft. And the way that works is when you draft somebody, you keep them for a season, but if you dump their salary, they return to the team that you originally drafted them from, that the team no longer wants. So Adam Ottavino has been playing great. Garrett Whitlock, once again, playing great. The Yankees miss him probably now because they're just pitching so well for this team.
Yeah.
So the Red Sox, they need to find some guys like that. They need to find another Nathan Eovaldi like they did when they won the World Series 3 years ago at this point. They need to find somebody who can step up, because when you look at the second half, right out of the gate, you got two division opponents. You got the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. You play 4 games in New York. You come home and play 3 against Toronto. You go to Toronto and play 3 games. Then you come home and play 4 against New York, 4 against Toronto, and then go away to play the Rays. The Yankees, 6-0 against the Yankees this season for the Red Sox.
The Yankees back-to-back series.
Yeah, they swept them both times.
They're playing them 8 times in 11 games.
Yeah.
Wow. It's going to be huge coming off the All-Star break.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the Yankees, they're tanking right now. They're not doing so hot. They're 2 games on the cusp of 500. So this is a prime position for this team to really take advantage of what they're being dealt. And, I mean, as for the Rays, all you can do is just keep ahead of those guys, but you got to beat them too, because so far we've only played 1 series against them, and we did lose that series 2-3, or 2-1 in that one.
Yeah.
So looking at the Red Sox right now in terms of statistical leaders, you got Rafael Devers leading the team with home runs, 21 home runs, 71 RBIs. That is the most RBIs in Major League Baseball.
Dude,
and then
I had the game-winning RBI when I went to that game too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did actually.
They were able to witness one of them.
The game-winning one, right?
Yeah, up close and personal against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah. Right after you saw Vladdy Guerrero hit a home run.
Yeah, just hit a moonshot to the ceiling.
And then Xander Bogaerts leading the team in batting average at .323. And then in terms of pitching, you got Nathan Eovaldi with 9 wins, .366 ERA. Nick Pivetta leading the team with strikeouts with 109. Matt Barnes with 19 saves. And Adam Ottavino with 15 holds to preserve these Red Sox leads. Red Sox currently have 5 All-Stars heading to the All-Star game. That is J.D. Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, Matt Barnes, and Nathan.
It's got to be like the most in the league, right? 5?
I don't think so. Probably.
All-Star rosters. Let me see.
Go for it.
5 All-Stars on the squad, man. This is how good this team is.
For real.
Insane. I don't even know where I could find it. Like with a nice little clear.
Don't worry about it. They definitely have. They definitely have.
Definitely up there.
Definitely up there. But yes, so we're gonna hit one more commercial break from our sponsor. When we get back, we're gonna take a look at some of these all-star rosters and kind of break down a little bit what these players look like, and then finally one last MLB update before we head into our NFL talk. We'll be right back after this message from our sponsor.
Peace.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, welcome back once again to Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. Taking a look at the NL real quick. We're going to look at the starting rosters and the starting roster here for the NL in terms of batters. We got Freddie Freeman at first base. At second base, Adam Frazier of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr. Third base, Nolan Arenado, once again at the third base position. Not on the Rockies this time, but on the St. Louis Cardinals. Buster Posey at catcher. Then you got Ronald Acuna Jr. in the outfield, along with Nicholas Castellanos and Jesse Winkler of the Cincinnati Reds. And looking at the starting pitchers. What's that?
It's a solid roster.
A very solid roster. And then taking a look here at the NL starting pitchers, you got Corbin Burns, Yu Darvish, Jacob deGrom, Kevin Gausman, Germain Marquez, Trevor Rogers, Zach Wheeler, Brandon Woodruff. And in terms of relievers, you've got Josh Hader from Milwaukee, Craig Kimbrell, former Boston Red Sox, now with the Chicago Cubs, Mark Melicon of the San Diego Padres, and Alex Reyes of the St. Louis Cardinals. So, Duffy, do we have any favorites from this roster that you want to point out?
So one of my favorites from this roster, I'm going to go with an obvious guy, man, Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm going to pick him as the early pick. Actually, I'm not going to pick him as the early All-Star Game MVP candidate because AL typically wins this thing. So I'm going to pick someone from that side. I think the AL is going to win this game like they always do.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, this is a really solid roster. Ronald Acuna Jr., another big name. I actually didn't know that Arnold played for the Cardinals, but nowadays, but solid roster, man. No really, big names I want to point out, unlike the AL.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I got to say, for me, my favorite batters in this lineup that are probably most I can't say most obvious. Ronald Acuna and Fernando Tatis are definitely the most obvious. Nolan Arenado as well. Sure. But I'm really happy to see Buster Posey in this lineup. This is a catcher who kind of fell out of the league spotlight for a few seasons, and now he's one of the lead batters on the San Francisco Giants and really one of their leaders on that team. 328 batting average, 12 home runs on the season with only 28 RBIs, but regardless, Buster Posey at age 34 is back to the Buster Posey that we all once feared when he stepped up to the plate. And then And then another one that I want to point out, I got to go with Jesse Winkler, honestly. Kind of a guy who came out of left field for me this season, 27 years old on the Cincinnati Reds. Even Nicholas Castellanos, also from the Reds. Nicholas Castellanos, a long-time Detroit Tiger. Definitely playing well on this squad. Jesse Winkler, though, 19 home runs this season, batting .305 with 49 RBIs. He's had himself a solid season, the lefty, and I just like what I see out of him. And now in terms of starting pitchers, I got to say my favorite starting pitcher on this lineup, and Duffy, I think you're right behind me on this one, Jacob deGrom, baby.
Legend himself.
The man is still pitching. Well, he just actually breached the 1 in terms of ERA. He is now 7-2.
Took him until July to hit that mark.
Yeah, it took him till July. That's definitely a very impressive stat there. Leads the league in ERA at 108 ERA, third in strikeouts, 146 strikeouts on the season at age 33. I think we would still see him leading the league in strikeouts if not for that early injury. But regardless, I think Jacob DeGrom is probably one of my favorite people here.
I love JT Realmuto too, from the Phillies. Former Miami Marlins pitcher. He's one of those guys who I had back in my fantasy team back in the day. Very solid hitter for a catcher. It's his third All-Star appearance in a row. There wasn't a game last year, I don't believe, so this would be his third appearance in a row. But excited to see him on the team. Yeah,
he's in the National League reserves, but he's definitely a guy that is awesome to watch. And another guy I like, it's too bad because the Washington Nationals were on a hot streak because of Kyle Schwarber, former Chicago Cub, came to the Nationals this season, belting 15 home runs on the year. And it's terrible to see him kind of fall down from that injury. And he's going to be out for the next month. So 25 home runs on the season for the guy. They need him back tremendously, but definitely an honor for him to make the roster. Now look at the AL, starting with first base. You got Vlad Guerrero Jr., no surprise there. Marcus Semien of the Toronto Blue Jays. That's two Blue Jays right there. Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers. Bogaerts at shortstop, Devers at third. Catcher Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals, no surprise there. He's easily been one of the most consistent catchers in the league. Mike Trout in the outfield. Then you got Aaron Judge, Teoscar Hernandez from Toronto, and then Shohei Ohtani from the LA Angels as your DH. And then taking a look at their starting pitchers, you got Shane Bieber from Cleveland, Garrett Cole, Nathan Eovaldi, Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn. You see I'm not even going to try that. He's a Japanese pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. Really stepped up this season. Carlos Rondon.
You say Kikuchi?
Yes, Kikuchi.
Kikuchi.
I'm an idiot. I just didn't want to butcher the name.
Yeah, that could be a lot harder, man.
Yeah, honestly. And then in terms of American League relievers, you got Matt Barnes, Aroldis Chapman, Liam Hendricks, Ryan Presley, and then Gregory Soto of the Detroit Tigers. So I think it's obvious. My two favorites off this roster are Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Shohei Ohtani, both leading the league in home runs this season. Vlad Guerrero at 28, and then Shohei Ohtani hitting his 32nd bomb of the year, the two-way pitcher and hitter. Believe he has a 3.28 ERA as well on the season. It's just incredible. He's an incredible player. He's a player you never expected. And then same with Vlad Guerrero, just really showing that he could be just as good as his father, if not better.
For sure. There's three guys from Toronto and Boston, each in the starting lineup. Actually, two from Boston, but I'll go to these teams and seeing pitcher/DH Shohei Ohtani. He's really a guy who can do it all, man. He's really never really seen anything like this before in the modern era, at least. Guy who can hit and pitch such an effective level, and it's really a shame that our boy JD Martinez plays in the same conference as Shohei Ohtani, because he would have gotten that starting DH spot if it wasn't for Ohtani.
Yeah. No, absolutely. He definitely would have had that, either him or Nelson Cruz of the Minnesota Twins.
41 years old.
Still cracking bombs out of these parks, man.
On the season. I'm impressed with him making the All-Star team, too.
I'm trying to remember where he started. That's right. He was on the Rangers, the Orioles for one season, and then, oh my God, look at
the Mariners.
The Mariners for so many seasons, and then after that went to the Twins. And this might be it for the dude.
I'm on his wiki right now.
What's that? You're on his wiki?
His wiki.
Guys stalking Nelson Cruz.
Stalking his wiki, man.
But anyways, in terms of starting pitchers, I think it's kind of a lame starting pitching lineup, I think, for the American League. But obviously, I'm going to highlight Lance Lynn and Shane Bieber, kind of starting off with Shane Bieber here. This is a guy who won the Cy Young Award last year, people. I mean, this is a dude who's really come right into this league at age 26 and proven he's one of the best starters, if not the best starter in all of baseball. Pitching 1.63 ERA last season. This year, 3.28. Cleveland's really struggling this season, but hitting the 130 mark in terms of strikeouts. I believe he still leads the league in strikeouts as of right now. Definitely one of the best you could have right there. And then in terms of...
He's available for the game because I'm pretty sure he's nursing an injury right now, right? Shane Bacon.
He might be. I think you are right about that.
Kind of takes down this AL pitching staff a little bit, one notch down a little bit.
And then taking a look at Lance Lynn at age 34, this guy's still pitching unbelievable. His tenure has been solid since his days with the St. Louis Cardinals, all the way down to 2018, where he went to the Minnesota Twins and then got traded from there to the New York Yankees in 2018 to really help them get into the postseason. And then 2019-2020, playing with the Texas Rangers, managed to sign himself a nice deal with the Chicago White Sox and really put them in a great winning situation, pitching at a career-best 1.99 ERA with 105 strikeouts on the year so far. So we'll see what happens. I really like Lance Lynn. I think he's a great pitcher for this team, and I think he brings a lot to the table in terms of the All-Star game.
Me too. One of the best pitchers in the AL, in the league too. And with Gene Bieber maybe out for this game, maybe he'll get the start.
Potentially. We shall see. But now taking a look at the rest of the league in terms of standings, Red Sox currently leading first place. Then in the Central, Chicago still leading. White Sox up by 8 games on the Cleveland Indians. And then out west, Astros still clinging on for dear life. 5 straight wins, though, managed to put themselves back up ahead of the Oakland A's. They're 4.5 games behind. And then looking out in the National League East, which is considered the worst division in all of baseball, New York Mets still control the division, winning 2 straight. Phillies did win 2 straight as well. Ever since Kyle Schwarber's injury, the Nationals have fallen back down to 4th place. So this division is getting much tighter now in terms of standings. And then in the Central, Cubs lose 11 straight games since we last spoke. They are now 8.5 games out of first place, dropping from 1st to 4th, and the Milwaukee Brewers losing 3 straight. But before that, they had won 11 straight, and they are now currently sitting in first place.
The Cubs were like second in their division, huh? They lost 11 in a row.
Yes.
Bad losses, too.
Very.
A lot of runs. 14 in the Brewers, 13 in the Phillies, 15 in the Phillies. Disgusting.
It is disgusting. I think this team...
June 24th.
The team's dealing with injuries and with just player inconsistencies all around. They are probably, if they continue this stretch up, they're probably going to be sellers this season. We shall see. And then out west, the San Francisco Giants currently leading their division. They are only a half game up on the LA Dodgers, which I am so fucking pissed off about because I did not want to see the Dodgers get anywhere close to first place.
Who does?
Currently sitting a half game behind out of first, and the Padres 3.5 behind them there. So that will do it here on our segment on Major League Baseball. We're going to hit one more commercial break from our sponsor, and when we get back, we're going to wrap up the night with some NFL talk. We will see you after this message.
Be right back.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
All right, welcome back to the final segment of Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy. Something to talk about right out of the gate. N'Keal Harry requests a trade from the New England Patriots, and you know what? Good.
Whatever.
I really don't give a shit. Like, to be honest, I'm kind of happy because that's what I wanted all along. N'Keal Harry, in his first 2 seasons, obviously dealt with some injuries with the Patriots. But just looking at his career numbers, 414 yards. His first season, 105 yards on 12 receptions for only 2 touchdowns. And then after playing 14 games with the Patriots the following season, 309 yards for 33 catches and 2 touchdowns. 414, 45 receiving receptions, and then 4 total touchdowns in his career with New England. So, very pitiful for the 23-year-old. Do I think it's his fault? Yes and no, but more so yes, because there were times we saw last season and the season before where Tom Brady and Cam Newton would throw the ball to this guy, and he would just flat out drop it in the most insane ways. It was more or less, I was just like, dude, how are you even playing in this league sometimes? It was astronomical to me just to see it. And Duffy, I mean, if you want to weigh in on this, it's not really a surprise to me that the team will probably give the go-ahead to move him.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate, spending a first-round pick on this guy, especially when you look at the other receivers in the draft class, like A.J. Brown, like Terry McLaurin, too. Big whiff on behalf of the Patriots picking this guy. But we look at N'Keal Harry, and the big problem was he just couldn't get open. He could not get separated on the field. I think he was towards the bottom of the league in advanced, next-gen stats for, how many yards of separation he had on a given play. I think it was under a yard. And kind of what he did in college, too. He was a big physical guy in college. He was able to make contested catches over, smaller defenders. But that doesn't translate to the NFL because when N'Keal Harry, you're a young guy coming into the league, you're not going to get all those one-on-one 50-50 jump balls right away. You're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to gain the trust of a guy like Tom Brady, your first quarterback in the league, to go up there and make catches like that, throw contested balls in your direction. So, is it his fault? Like you're saying, yes and no. I think that he could have really redefined his route running, brushed up on his game, like every young player can at the end of the day. But, pretty inconsistent quarterback play last year, with Cam Newton only throwing 8 touchdowns all year. I think like 3 of them were to Harry. I think Harry had 1 actually from Jarrett Stidham against the Chiefs in week 4. Even the year before, he was injured the first, 10 games of his rookie year, maybe 8. And just couldn't really get playing time or meaningful playing time. And really just could not take any momentum into year 2 that he couldn't even gain in year 1. So I just think it was a patchy relationship from the beginning. And I think it's good that this team and N'Keal Harry are going to part ways because it just wasn't working out. And I think he's going to find a better situation somewhere else. And he's got to get better at football, man. At the end of the day, he's got to be a better NFL wide receiver because you're coming out of New England, a team that had Tom Brady rookie year, still had less than 150 yards his first year in the league, less than 400 last year, and so looking on paper, he hasn't really produced that much. So any team that's going to give him a shot will not put him on those first team, maybe even second team reps immediately, and he's going to have to earn whatever he gets from here on out.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be playing. He's going to have to play with the fire under his butt because honestly, I saw little to no productivity in terms of a receiver such as him. He was just a guy who was just there to stand and catch the ball. That was it. I saw nothing.
He was just there, man.
I just saw nothing I liked. I really didn't.
Yeah.
And to look at potential landing spots, to start from the top, the number 1 landing spot for this guy right now that everybody can agree with is the Arizona Cardinals. And honestly, I could see the deal happening where he ends up there because, Kyler Murray, he could use a younger guy like him to really build around. You already have D-Hop, but at least you get somebody else, maybe as a depth player, or maybe somebody that the Patriots give to them and receive somebody like Andy Isabella back.
Yeah.
In return in exchange for a draft pick or so.
Patriots type of receiver, Andy Isabella, a short slot guy, white guy. we can get open.
Yeah, white guy.
Speedster too. And N'Keal Harry, went to college at Arizona State. I think he played high school football there too. It makes sense. And that wouldn't be a bad move, but they have a lot of depth. That Arizona Cardinals receiving lineup. They just signed AJ Green in the offseason. Still have D-Hop, obviously. Still have Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
And Bell on the team. So,
and I mean, the Cardinals were interested in him earlier this summer, despite drafting Rondell
you would get
Moore.
waived if you went there, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's not. I think he's just one of those first-round duds who might fall off, but who knows? He could have a rebirth.
Another like Treadwell or something, or Josh Doxson. Remember that year? I think like 4 guys were drafted in the first-round receivers.
Exactly.
And I think 3 of them were bad.
So another interested team that he could end up on is the Washington football team. Even though the team selected receiver Diami Brown in the 3rd round of the 2021 draft, it could limit the interest. But really, does the Washington football team really have much of a choice in terms of receivers? I mean, you really only have Terry McLaurin. Who else do you have?
They're saying Curtis Samuel. He's solid. Yeah, I think he had like close to 800 yards last season.
He was good, but I mean,
good.
I can't say he's going to be consistent year to year.
Yeah, sure. That's a fair point.
But I mean, N'Keal Harry could be a promising number 3 guy for this team.
Could be. He'd promise number 3 anywhere if he just knew how to get open downfield.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to really discuss this because it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
it's like, what the fuck? We haven't seen this guy do anything in New England.
It's kind of
he could do better with
I just want him out. That's all I want. I'm like, good.
Realistically, the Pats are gonna get a 6th-round pick, and they're gonna get the best 6th-round pick to whoever the hell wants this guy on their team. They're just gonna take the highest pick they can get, and it doesn't fucking matter. There's gonna be a 5th or 6th rounder at the end of the day. What he's gonna be worth, and maybe Washington will give that up. He might fit well there. He might also do nothing there either.
Yeah,
it's a tough situation for him to go really anywhere. But I think that same article has one more team listed. I think it's Atlanta, right?
Yes, the Atlanta Falcons, which I could definitely see because you lose Julio Jones. You do have Calvin Ridley, who is easily a top 10 wide receiver in the league. But then who the hell do you have after that? I mean, you got to fill the void. You got to build on this depth, and you got to help start a rebuild. And I think N'Keal Harry would be perfect for that because he's 23. You still have Matt Ryan to kind of help him out there, who is still a top 15 quarterback in the National Football League. I think there's still a shot for him to really produce for this team.
You look at the history, too, between the Pats and Falcons. They've made trades in the past. Remember, the Pats got Mohamed Sanu from the Falcons a couple of years ago. And this trade would make a lot of sense. N'Keal going to Atlanta. They just lost a guy who's similarly built in Julio Jones. Obviously not even close to the same talent whatsoever.
Yeah, be careful with what you say.
He's a similar type of build. Big guy who can go up and make catches. In contest, if he's even able to do that. We haven't seen much of it at all in New England. But Falcons, man, they could really give the Pats, 5th, 6th-round pick for this dude. Get him next to Calvin Ridley, another young receiver. I think they were in the same draft class, if not a year apart from the same draft class. And Kyle Pitts, too. That's the other guy they got lining up for them. The tight end spot. Will play on the outside, too. Another big physical wide receiver, which the Falcons are going to lack now without Julio Jones. So, man, that would be interesting to see N'Keal going to Atlanta. I don't really think he would do much in his first year there. We have to develop into a type of dude that he's supposed to be. But with N'Keal Harry too, you could see, some personality behaviors from, and that sounds kind of stereotypical, young diva receiver going to a new city, but it could happen. We just saw his agent be the one to, announce that N'Keal wanted to trade. I think any guy who requests a trade is a little bit of a diva in a way, especially these younger receivers.
Yeah, who kind of sell themselves to be these big-time studs when in actuality it's like, well, what the fuck do you bring to the table? Honestly, exactly. I really have seen nothing. Obviously, it's his first 2 seasons. This could just be who knows, maybe he's the next Jerry Rice, but I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, exactly. But looking at the Patriots roster, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, and Jacoby Myers all on this team.
All better than N'Keal Harry.
All way better than this kid. So it's like, what do you have to lose, really? And if anything, you get somebody in the trade to replace him. or you just get somebody in free agency. I don't really know. It's like it's not really a lose-lose situation. Sure, you lose him in his bright young age, but this is a guy who proves he can't play in the system. So ship him off, get him the fuck out. He's done. I'm done with him personally. I'm done with this subject. I'm not going to lie.
Me too, man.
Another bright shining. But here's something about youth that you're all going to want to hear. Trevor Lawrence signing his rookie contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's a big one. $36.8 million for the young man, as he is fully prepped and ready to go with this team for season 1 of his rookie season in the NFL. And I got to say, I'm very excited to see Trevor Lawrence play this year.
Me too. This guy's a beast. He's going to be – everyone says he's next up. And for a lot of these guys, some of them do flail out. But this guy's the real deal. I can't really say that definitively yet because he has not played a single snap in the NFL. But $36 million, for any type of first-round pick quarterback in this day and age, because before they used to sign even for more money. But for a guy to give him that much money and he hasn't even played a snap on the field, I mean, that says a lot. And sure, he's the first pick. He's going to make that much money pretty much anyways. But
it pretty much cements how confident they are in this kid.
For sure. And he's gonna come out light up day one. That's what they're hoping for, at least. I really think this team could really go 8-9 next year, maybe 9-8. I think they're gonna be on the brink of 500, and year 2 is only gonna get better. And this is a really young, talented team. They're gonna invest their future around Trevor Lawrence as they should for the next at least decade or so. And this really is a surprise to nobody. This big contract, and I think it's well deserved and the right business move for Jacksonville, 100%.
Yeah, I think 110% because you're showing your fan base to invest in this guy as much as you are. Because
I never had a franchise quarterback before.
They never have, and you know what? The stars have aligned perfectly for the franchise to have a guy like Trevor Lawrence come into the organization and change the culture around here. Because the problem is, this is a team, and I hate to say this, but this is a team of fucking losers. Oh my God! If there was a team that I could say I lost more than the Cleveland Browns, it's this team. Like, this team god awful in the past. Brutal of me to say that, but it's the truth, people. You want to know the truth from us, and I gotta say the God's honest truth is this team fucking blew for so long.
I read something in 2013. It was like there are 3 certains in life: death, taxes, and the Jacksonville Jaguars being bad at football.
Yup.
And it still remains true this day until this man, Trevor Lawrence, pictured behind us, can prove otherwise.
Absolutely.
Losing them. I am wearing the Cleveland Browns shirt right now, as a matter of fact. So maybe I'm the third biggest loser. You? Because right now I got it's Jaguars, Browns, and then me pictured. You're wearing the Pats Super Bowl champion shirt. Your shirt says champion. You can't technically be defined as a loser right now.
Yeah, this is literally the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl.
Are you serious?
Yeah, this is the one with the Seahawks for the Patriots.
You see it? Oh, I thought you.
Yeah, I almost got you.
Dude, remember on
Facebook? It would have been different colors.
Dude, remember you used to make your cover photo on Facebook like Malcolm Smith with the Super Bowl fucking trophy? Remember that?
Change every year for the Super Bowl. That was when I was being weird.
That's when you were 16, 17, being weird and shit.
Something like that. Who knows? I was a sports geek.
You should just make Ronald Jones holding the Lombardi your cover photo right now on Facebook.
No. All right. Anyways, that is a wrap for tonight here on Unapologetic. And one more thing I want to add. The XFL is coming back in a few seasons after we thought this whole league was doomed. And I got to say, I'm excited for more football, too.
We thought it was dead, man. A lot of these guys are going to come into the league and tear it up. I think it's great for the league, man. It's pretty much a G league for the NFL, development league for these guys. See who can actually play in the league. We saw a guy in XFL, PJ Walker, win a game for the Panthers last year, which was awesome. So
it kind of proves that this is almost going to be like having farm teams in baseball, in hockey. This is nice. I'm excited because it means more football that you can watch, more games you can go to, and
more games.
And it's just kind of exciting because then it really gets you to pay attention to this league and be like, who's going to be good besides college prospect-wise that's coming up to the NFL?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot in store, and you know what? Thank you to the people who really donated to the XFL, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, to really get the league back and going.
It's gonna be a fun watch. I don't even know if we're gonna remember to tune in when the time comes in 2 years, but football's football. Man. Football's football.
Yeah,
I watched some fourth string NFLers, in a March football game. Why not?
Why not, baby?
Some of them could be first string caliber players. You never know.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to be a wrap here on Unapologetic with Chet and Duffy, an hour into the show. Jesus, my voice is shot. I am ready to go eat something. So until next week, this is Chet signing off from Unapologetic with my counterpart, Duffy, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.
Go Pats.
Peace.